The internet. If you've been following me or my live stream, I've been battling with high-speed internet for going on a year and a half now. And hopefully this Friday, I will finally have high-speed internet that is reliable enough to stream in 1080p for my daily live show on Rumble, which if you're not watching, you absolutely should. We're doing 10K in giveaways, including gaming computer, all the stuff you see behind me this whole month. So download the Rumble app, follow the quartering, and then just tune in. And I pick 8 winners every single day. So you got nothing to lose and everything to gain from entertainment. I've got guests this week. I've got Mark Dice coming up tomorrow. We've got Jordan Schatchel today and more. Anyway, there's an interesting open and free internet issue going on. Next week, the FCC will be voting on President Biden's plan to give the administrative state effective control of all internet services and infrastructure. And when you look at, these bills are designed to be extremely difficult to follow. And in the stuff that they have in this is literally they have diversity, equity, and inclusion in internet now. The internet is getting woke. The pipeline, the bandwidth is getting woke. They want control over everything. If you look at some of the quote tweets, you think we've been censored before. Look at what's coming. This takeover of the internet by the Biden administration is a big freaking deal. No one is talking about this. So yeah, I agree. That's why I was like, I need to talk about this. One of you gave me this story on Twitter, and it's a big deal. The FCC is claiming the power to control every aspect of broadband infrastructure and the industry itself. It's nuts. And this is all in the name of equity and inclusion. I mean, this is absolutely insane. And I apologize if we get in the weeds here, but I'm going to try to keep it not too boring. Here's the thing. Biden rules will give the federal government a roving mandate to micromanage nearly every aspect of how the internet functions. Quote, for example, how ISPs allocate capital, where they build, services that you can even purchase, profits, how they market and advertise, discounts and promotion codes, all of that kind of stuff in the name of equity. It's all buried in here. You can see this, Democrats have been charged with the FCC and administrative agencies in DC for approaching 12 out of the last 16 years. They've had the opportunity over that stretch of a time to put in place nearly any federal telecom policy of their choosing. In fact, the federal government has allocated hundreds of billions of tax dollars for the purposes of ending the digital divide, while Democrats have run the administrative state. After all that time and all that spending, the Biden administration has concluded that the Democrats' policies are in fact not working. I mean, last month, President Biden gave the FCC its marching orders. President Biden called on the FCC to implement the one-page section of 2021's Infrastructure Investment and Job Act by adopting new rules of breathtaking scope, all in the name of digital equity. For the first time ever, those rules would give the government a roving mandate to micromanage nearly every single aspect of how the internet functions, from how ISPs allocate their capital, to where they build, to the services consumers can purchase, from the profits that ISPs can realize, to how they market and advertise services. This is centralizing everything. Congress has never contemplated the sweeping regulatory regime that President Biden asked the FCC to adopt, let alone authorize the agency to implement it. Nonetheless, Congress will vote next week, November 15th, to put President Biden's plan in place. I mean, this is nuts. And if you actually dig down into this, they're literally talking about you have to prioritize, diverse communities for running your internet through and all this stuff. Look, I live out in a rural country and I had to pay 23,000 US American dollars to have a cable run up my long driveway. Nobody wrote that check for me, right? I don't know exactly, who is getting this money, but you see, don't take our word for it. The text of the order expressly provides that the FCC would be empowered for the first time to regulate each and every ISP's, quote, network infrastructure, deployment, network reliability, network upgrades, network maintenance, consumer premises equipment, and installation, Also, speeds, capacities, latency, data caps, throttling, pricing, promotional rates, imposition of late fees, opportunity for equipment rental, installation time, contract renewal terms. The government would have control over all of this, oversight over all of it. Mandatory arbitration clauses, pricing, deposits, discounts, consumer service, all this stuff. And it's like, it's all happening while we're all staring at what's going on over in the sandbox too, right? All going on over in the sandbox under the name, under the guise of wokeness. If you actually dig into this stuff and you dig into the actual order in and of itself, it's got the same diversity, equity, and inclusion crap that everything else. Digital discrimination must include policies and practices that disparately impact one or more marginalized groups' access to broadband services. Are you kidding me? What? This is what our government has been doing. You see, digital discrimination of access must include policies and practices that disparately impact one or more marginalized groups' access to broadband services. Now they're saying, oh, people shouldn't have to drive to the McDonald's so their kids can get internet. Where is this even happening? Are you telling me there isn't high-speed internet in downtown Chicago? I don't believe you. Where are people driving to the McDonald's to get broadband internet? I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I'd like to know where this is happening and how it has marginalized groups, right? When they're talking about marginalized groups, they're not talking about poor whites down south who can't get broadband internet. They're not talking about white boys like me that chose to live out in the middle of nowhere. They're talking about, LGBTQ people, people of color. LGBTQ people live in San Francisco. I'm pretty sure they have high-speed internet there. While disparities in service could result from intentional discriminatory treatment based on the state statute's protected characteristics, what? Like, you got to be kidding me. The only people I see covering this is barely Fox News covered this. Federal Communications Commissioner Brandon Carr is blasting President Biden's new plan to achieve digital equity as breathtaking government power grab. Carr said the FCC will vote next Wednesday on whether to adopt the president's plan to promote equal access broadband internet access service. Lots of buzzwords there. A draft of the FCC order said that the commission would implement a section of Biden 2021 infrastructure bill to establish a framework to, quote, facilitate equal access to broadband internet by preventing digital discrimination of access to the service based on income level, race, ethnicity, color. What? By the way, Starlink kind of blows this all out of the water, doesn't it? Starlink's available all across the United States. You can get high-speed internet no matter where you live. Carr said he opposes the order, which he said gives the administrative state effective control of all internet services and infrastructure. Now, that may be an oversell, but why do they have any part of this at all? President Biden, so the White House responds by saying, quote, President Biden believes no parent should have to drive to McDonald's parking lot so the kid can do their homework online, Patterson said. That's why he worked with Democrats and Republicans alike to pass the bipartisan infrastructure law to ensure every American has access to affordable, reliable, high-speed internet access. I'm sure giving the government control over our internet couldn't possibly backfire. I mean, are you joking with this? I actually understand certain situations where you might, especially with like monopolies, right? When you live in a state, you don't have a lot of options in terms of like who provides your power, who provides your sewer and water, who provides your natural gas, your propane, right? There are like effective monopolies when it comes to that kind of stuff. Because that's just the truth of it. You can see it's simple. You order broadband through your local provider via cable, fiber, etc. They send you a bill every month and you pay that. Or is digital equity for people in rural communities that don't have cost-effective access somehow? I doubt it. Of course it isn't for people in rural communities. We're not a marginalized group. I don't even understand. Remember, folks, anything the government has power to give you is something they can take away from you. It's especially dangerous when they position themselves as to be the only source for whatever they're providing. We have socialists in power. They're taking over through the executive branch mandates, not through Congress. I understand, let's say you only have one high-speed internet provider in the area and they're price gouging people and there's no remediation for that. There's no pushback for that. But I would think that Starlink, for one, offers, it's $120 a month. So I don't think it's necessarily cost effective for all people, but it's there. It's an option for people. There are other options, like many small cities have Wi-Fi available, that Wi-Fi high speed, things of that nature that you can connect to, all that kind of stuff. Evidently Biden doesn't care about Americans having access to affordable gas, groceries, and the means to heat their homes, but he wants the taxpayers to foot the bill for everyone's internet service. To me, this seems like a completely unnecessary power grab, and not enough people are talking about this at all. And I hope that you'll share this video. I hope that it made sense. And I hope you'll keep that in mind next time you go out and vote. We'll talk to you again real soon.